Smoke drifted over the treetops. The forest had burned for 2 nights. The sky was still dark from ash. In the middle of the war-torn valley, a lone man dragged his injured leg across the soil. His name was Mason. He had been a scout in the Earth Colonial Army. Now he was lost, cut off from his unit, and had only a knife and his survival bag. He hadn't eaten for 2 days. He had no idea if the alien enemy was still hunting humans in the area, but he knew one thing: he couldn't stay still. The wild planet of Ulvana was not safe, even without soldiers. Something else was watching him. He could feel it. Every few minutes, Mason heard strange howls in the trees. Deep, growling noises that didn't match any Earth animal. He thought it might be the local wildlife until he saw the prints. Huge clawed feet, far too large for any wolf. The tracks circled his last camp. Something had been close. Something that moved fast and heavy. Mason limped to a narrow river and crouched near the edge. He splashed water on his face and looked at his reflection. His beard had grown long and messy. It made him look like a wild man. He laughed bitterly. Maybe I am one now. A branch snapped behind him. He froze. Slowly he reached for his knife. He turned around and saw her. At first, he thought she was an animal standing on 2 legs. But no, she was a woman, tall, strong, and covered in thick silver-gray fur. Her face was partly human, but her glowing blue eyes had a wild shine. Sharp ears poked out from her long hair, and her clawed hands twitched at her sides. Her chest rose and fell as she sniffed the air. They stared at each other. Mason didn't move. She stepped forward. He raised the knife. She tilted her head, then made a sound. A low, soft purr, almost like a growl mixed with a question. Then she pointed at his face. More exactly, his beard. What? Mason asked, confused. The alien woman blinked slowly, then touched her own chin. Then she touched her chest and made a gesture, open hands over her heart. Her eyes locked onto his. She stepped even closer, close enough that he could smell the wild forest on her fur. She pointed at his beard again. Mason lowered his knife. You like the beard? The woman made a strange rumble in her throat. Her ears twitched. She looked excited. Mason sat down slowly on a rock. His heart was racing, but not with fear anymore, now with confusion. She crouched beside him. Not threatening, calm. Her claws touched the ground gently. Her eyes studied his beard with intensity. I don't get it, Mason said. Are you trying to say something? She touched his cheek. Her hand was warm. Then she pressed her forehead to his, eyes closed. Mason didn't know what to do. Suddenly, she spoke a word. Not in English, but it echoed like a whisper in his ears. Then another word. Then silence. She looked at him, then at the sky. She sniffed the air again. Her ears flattened. She growled low and fast. Mason looked around. Someone's coming? She stood up fast. Her fur rippled. Her muscles tensed. She grabbed Mason by the arm and pulled him to his feet. For a second, he thought she might hurt him, but then she wrapped one strong arm around his waist and lifted him easily. Whoa, hey! He yelled, surprised. She didn't listen. She dashed into the trees with him in her arms, moving faster than anything he had ever seen. She was strong, fast, and completely silent. He saw only a blur of trees and shadows. When they finally stopped, they were inside a hidden cave near a rocky hill. The entrance was covered with vines. Inside, it was warm. She set him down gently, then crouched at the entrance, eyes alert, ears twitching. Mason sat back against the cave wall, breathing hard. You saved me. She turned toward him. Slowly, she moved closer again, staring at his beard. Then she said one word, clear and strong. Mavgt. Mason's mouth dropped open. What did you just say? She pointed at his beard. Mate, he blinked. Wait, no. That's not, this is just a beard. But the alien Beastwoman seemed to believe something else. Her gaze was deep. Her body relaxed now, but her tail twitched. To her, his beard was not just hair. It was a signal. A sign. She leaned closer again and whispered the word once more. My. And Mason realized something terrifying. She didn't just like his beard. She thought it meant he was hers. Asterisk. Mason didn't sleep that night. He sat in the cave, back against the wall, eyes fixed on the strange alien woman across from him. She sat like a statue, legs folded, arms resting on her knees, eyes glowing in the dark. Her tail moved sometimes, like a cat's. She watched the entrance, guarding, protecting. He didn't understand her, not fully. But one thing was clear, she had saved his life, and she believed his beard meant something. Something sacred. Mate, she had whispered. That word stayed in his mind. Was it a mistake? Did her people use that word for something else? Mason touched his beard and frowned. This is just hair, he whispered to himself, but she didn't think so. When morning came, sunlight peeked through the vines at the cave's entrance. She rose to her feet with a quiet growl, stretched, then looked back at him. Her expression softened. Hungry, she said slowly, pointing at her mouth. Mason blinked. You speak English? She tilted her head. Learn, listen, words. He nodded slowly, impressed. You've been watching us? She nodded once. Long time. Many cycles. Then she stood tall and walked out of the cave. Mason hesitated, but followed. His legs still hurt, but she moved slowly this time, letting him keep up. The forest was quiet now. No smoke, no soldiers. Only birds and alien insects buzzing around. She moved with grace like a hunter, but also like someone who knew these lands deeply. Soon, they came to a stream. She crouched and pulled out small, colorful fruits from a hidden pouch tied to her hip. She handed them to Mason carefully. He looked at the fruit, then at her. Safe? She nodded. Food? Sweet energy. He bit into one. It was soft, juicy, and surprisingly delicious. She smiled when she saw him eat. You strong? You walk. More now. Yeah, he said between bites. Thanks to you. Then she pointed at her chest. Vara, Mason blinked. Vara? That's your name? She smiled again, nodding. Vara, female, hunter, my tribe. Gone. His heart sank. Gone? She looked down. Killed, metal men, fire weapons. Big war. He knew what she meant. The Earth Army had fought the native species here, the Alvani, for control of the planet's resources. Mason wasn't proud of it. He had only followed orders. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Vara looked up. You not like them. You different. You grow sacred fur. She pointed at his beard again. Mason almost laughed. It's not sacred. I just didn't shave. But she didn't believe that. She reached out again and touched it with her claws gently, almost like a blessing. Her eyes were full of something more respect, maybe even hope. Then she suddenly pulled her hand back. Her ears twitched. She growled low. What is it? Mason asked. She turned fast. Footsteps. Many. Not mine. Mason's blood turned cold. Heard it. 2 crunching leaves. Rustling bushes. Then a sharp voice in the distance. Scan this area. The human is still alive. Mason's eyes widened. Earth soldiers. Vara bared her teeth. She pulled Mason down low, pressing him against the tree roots. They smell you. They hunt. I thought they gave up, Mason whispered. Why now? She pointed at his chest. You carry signal. Machine call. He reached into his vest. The tiny beacon still flashing. They're tracking me, he said. Vara hissed. She grabbed the device and smashed it with a stone. It sparked and died. Then she looked him in the eyes. You stay. I go. No, Mason said. You saved me once. I'm not letting you fight them alone. She paused. Her eyes softened. You? Protect me? He nodded. Yes, we protect each other. She smiled again. This time wider. Then I fight strong. For mate. Before Mason could correct her, she darted into the trees. He followed as best he could. The soldiers were close now, 3 of them in full armor, rifles in hand. They were scanning the trees. One of them shouted, There! Movement! Too late. Vara exploded from the underbrush like lightning. She knocked one soldier off his feet with a single swipe. Mason dove behind a tree as gunfire echoed through the forest, but Vara didn't stop. She moved like a ghost fast, furious and wild. She slammed the second soldier into a tree. Mason rushed the third while he was distracted and tackled him. From behind, grabbing his weapon and throwing it aside. When it was over, the 3 soldiers lay unconscious on the ground. Vara stood tall, chest heaving, eyes glowing. Mason stared at her in awe. You're incredible. She stepped closer. You brave. You fight for me. I couldn't leave you. She touched his beard again. This time with a calm smile. Sacred fur. True sign. Mason gave a weak smile. I guess I'm stuck with you now. She leaned close and whispered, Already were. Mason and Vara moved deeper into the forest. The sun was high, but the trees kept the light soft and warm. The path was rough, but Vara walked confidently, always ahead, always listening. Mason followed close, watching her still amazed at how powerful and graceful she was. They didn't speak for a while. Mason's thoughts were heavy. He had fought his own people to protect her. He had turned his back on the army. There would be no going back now, but he didn't feel regret. Felt free. And strangely, not alone. After some time, Vara stopped near a stone circle surrounded by old trees. Strange symbols were carved into the rocks. Vines grew around them, but the shapes were still clear. What is this place? Mason asked. Vara stepped carefully inside the circle. Old ground, before war. Place of vows. Vows? She nodded. Make vows. Tribe made here. Mason raised an eyebrow. You brought me here for that? Vara looked at him seriously. You save me. You protect. You strong. You wear sacred fur. My people would see you as chosen. I didn't mean to wear sacred anything, he said with a small smile. I just haven't shaved. Vara stepped closer. You not understand yet. She placed her hand on his chest. In my world, male grows sacred fur when ready for bond. When he wishes to be chosen, to be claimed. Mason blinked. So, to your people, this is like a love signal? She tilted her head. Love? Yes, but deeper. Soul promise. Mason looked down, unsure. Vara, I don't even know your world. I didn't come here looking for this. I was just a scout. Her eyes softened. I know, but Forrest chose. Sky watched. We meet for reason. He didn't know what to say. She sat down in the center of the stones, legs folded, calm and peaceful. Her tail wrapped around her side. She looked up at him with patience, no force, she said. You choose or not. Mason sat down slowly across from her. His heart was heavy with thoughts, but his chest felt light. Let me understand first. Teach me. Vara smiled. I will. They stayed in the stone circle until sunset. Vara spoke of her tribe, their old ways, how they honored nature and spirit. She told him how sacred fur on a male meant readiness, patience, leadership. Not all males had it. When one did, the females would wait for him to choose, but she had chosen already. Mason listened carefully. He didn't laugh. He didn't judge. He simply watched her glowing eyes, her calm strength, and the way she spoke with respect. That night, they made camp near a cliff with a view of the valley below. Fires burned far away. Human camps. The war wasn't over. We can't stay here long, Mason said. They'll keep hunting. Vara nodded. Then we go north. Mountains. Safe. Tribe land. There are more of your kind up there? Maybe. Or ruins. But high place good. No scan. No fire machines. Mason lay on his side, watching the stars above. Vara curled near him, close but not touching. Her tail flicked gently against the grass. You still think my beard is sacred? He asked quietly. She chuckled. Yes, I never thought a beard could mean so much. She looked at him. Not beard alone, your heart. Shows through it. He turned toward her. You really believe that? She nodded. Your actions speak, not just fur. Mason was quiet for a long time. Then he whispered, I don't know. If I'm ready for what this means. You have time, she said gently. But know this, I wait. He looked into her glowing eyes, feeling something deep and strange rise in his chest. Warmth, respect, connection. She was alien. She was fierce, and she saw something sacred in him. Something even he didn't see. He reached up and touched his beard. Maybe. Just maybe? This strange new world was giving him something more than survival. It was giving him purpose. The next morning, the forest felt quiet. Too quiet. Birds didn't sing. The air was still. Vara crouched low beside a rock, sniffing the air. Her ears twitched fast. Mason stood behind her, holding a long stick he had sharpened into a spear. What is it? He whispered. She didn't answer right away. Then she growled softly. Something wrong. The forest is afraid. Mason looked around. The trees were thick. The sunlight barely reached the ground. But he felt it too now. Something strange was nearby. They moved carefully. Vara led him through tight paths and up a hill covered in moss. At the top, they found tracks. Big ones, fresh. Mason bent down. These aren't human. Vara nodded. Metal beasts, machine legs, drones? He asked. Walkers? Yes, she said. Hunters. Mason cursed under his breath. Why would the army send those out here? They don't usually patrol this far. Vara stood still. Because they follow signal. Not just tech. Smell. Soul. Mason frowned. They're tracking me? She nodded slowly. Your energy changed. You broke bond with army. They feel that. They hate it. He looked at his hands. You mean? They're hunting me because I left. They fear change. They fear choice. Mason gripped his spear tighter. Then we keep moving. We get to the mountains. They hiked through dense jungle for hours. The path was rough, but Vara helped him when his legs slowed him down. She didn't speak much. Her eyes were sharp, always scanning. At one point, they stopped near a riverbank to drink. Mason knelt by the water while Vara stood watch. He looked at his reflection again, his beard even thicker now. Wild rough, but somehow stronger. He turned to her. Back on Earth, people shave this off all the time. Vara tilted her head. Why? Because it looks messy. Or they think it doesn't matter. She stepped closer. But it does, to me. It shows your story, my story. She gently touched the side of his face. Pain, strength, growth. Wild heart. Mason swallowed hard. You really see all that? Yes, she said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he whispered, I've never been seen like that before. She leaned close. Now you are. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the trees. Both of them froze. Then came the heavy thud of metal feet. Mason spun around. They're here. Vara grabbed his arm. Run. they sprinted through the trees. Branches tore at their arms. Mason's leg burned with pain, but he didn't stop. Behind them, Metal roared four-legged hunter drones, scanning, chasing. One of them fired a red beam that cut across a tree, splitting it in half. Mason dove behind a log. Vara jumped over it and tackled the drone from the side. Her claws scraped across its body, sparks flying. The drone shook her off with a hard jolt, throwing her to the ground. Mason shouted, "Vara!" He grabbed a rock and smashed it into the drone's sensor. It jerked back, confused. Vara rolled to her feet and leapt again, this time ripping out wires from its side. The drone collapsed, twitching, but two more arrived. "Go!" Vara shouted. "I hold them." "No!" Mason yelled. "We fight together." He ran beside her. The two of them moved like one man and Beastwoman, human and alien. Mason threw his spear into one drone's leg, making it stumble. Vara leapt high and crashed down on its back, claws slashing. The last drone aimed its beam at Mason. Then something strange happened. The drone paused. Its scanner locked onto his beard. A soft beep sounded. Then the drone stopped moving. Mason stared at it. "What just happened?" Vara looked shocked. "It recognized." "Recognized what?" "Your bond. Your change. You're not just human now, you carry Mark." Mason slowly stepped closer to the drone. Its lights faded. Then he looked down at his own hands. Something was happening inside him. The more time he spent with Vara, the more he felt the forest, the sky, the energy of this world. His heartbeat followed a different rhythm now, a wild one, an ancient one. "I'm changing," he whispered. Vara came to his side. "Yes, you are becoming more." He looked into her eyes. More what? More true. He wasn't sure what that meant yet, but deep in his chest he knew this wasn't just survival anymore, that it was transformation. Mason didn't feel human anymore, not fully. He walked beside Vara through the deep forest, each step quieter, smoother. His breathing matched hers. His thoughts were different now, sharper, calmer, more connected to everything around him. He could hear birds before they landed, feel the ground change beneath his boots, smell the metal scent of drones even before they came close. He had changed, not just in body. In spirit. They reached the edge of a high cliff by nightfall. Below them stretched a valley of glowing trees. Far in the distance, the snowy mountains waited strong, silent, and untouched. Vara stood beside him. "Almost there," Mason nodded. "I never thought I'd make it this far. You strong. You chose your path. That is sacred." He looked at her. "You talk a lot more now?" She smiled. "I listen. I learn from you." Mason chuckled softly. "You've learned more English in 2 days than I learned of any alien language in months." "Because I care," she said, her voice warm. He looked down at the trees again. "Will your people accept me, if we find them?" Vara was quiet for a moment, then she touched his arm. "Some will, some not. They fear outsiders. But if I stand beside you, they listen. And if they don't," she raised her head proudly, "then we make our own place." A sound rose from the valley, deep, echoing howls. Not just one voice, many, dozens. Vara's ears twitched. Her face turned serious. "What is it?" Mason asked. "Others, my kind. Old ones. Are they calling to us?" "No," she whispered. "They call to hunt." Mason felt a chill run down his spine. "They're not friendly?" "They follow old laws," she said. "See humans as enemies. Mating bonds with outsiders are forbidden." Mason rubbed his beard. "So I'm not just a stranger. I'm a problem. They will try to test you, break you. Then they're welcome to try," Mason said, standing straight. "I've already survived worse." Vara smiled at him. "Good. Because they already come. From the trees below, glowing eyes appeared, yellow, green, blue. Silent shapes moved through the woods. Beastwomen, tall and strong like Vara, but dressed in bone armor, carrying long curved blades and spears. They climbed the hill fast. Mason stood his ground. The first warrior stopped 10 feet from him. Her eyes narrowed. She looked at Vara, then at Mason's face. Her nose flared, sniffing. "You bring outsider here," the warrior said in a deep voice. "He stinks of machines." "He is not one of us." Vara stepped forward. "He is mine. He wears sacred fur. He chose me." "He has not earned the bond," another warrior growled. "He has no mark, no test." Mason raised his voice. "Then test me, right now." The warriors looked surprised. The first one tilted her head. "You speak with no fear? I've already been hunted. Already been betrayed. I have nothing left but this," Mason said, pointing to Vara. "If your laws say I need to earn her, then fine. Tell me how." Vara looked at him with wide eyes. "You don't have to. I want to," he said gently. The lead warrior gave a toothy smile. "Then follow. The trial waits." They led him down the slope to a rocky clearing. At the center stood a stone circle like the one from before, but this one was covered in deep red marks. "Blood trials." The warrior pointed. "If you pass, we accept you. If you fall, she must leave you. Forever." Mason looked at Vara. She looked worried but nodded. "I believe in you," she whispered. Mason stepped into the circle. The trial began. First came speed. He had to race through a series of traps and moving branches. He ran hard, dodging fast, trusting his instincts. He slipped once, cut his arm, but kept moving. Then came strength. He had to lift a heavy log and carry it across a shallow river. He nearly collapsed halfway through, but the thought of Vara kept him standing. Last came courage, a test of fear. They dropped him into a dark pit and filled it with cold mist and recorded cries from the war. Ghosts from his past. Explosions, screams, guilt. He fell to his knees. Then he heard Vara's voice in the distance, just one word. "My 8. He stood again, stepped forward, climbed out of the pit. The warriors waited in silence. He was covered in sweat and dirt, arm bleeding, chest heaving. But he stood tall. The lead warrior stepped forward. She reached out and touched his beard. Then she nodded. "You are changed. You are marked. You have earned the right." Vara rushed to his side and wrapped her arms around him. "You did it," she whispered. He held her close. "We did it." The tribe howled into the night. But far in the distance, machines still moved, and the war wasn't over yet. The mountain wind was cold. Snow covered the high cliffs, but the fire inside the stone camp burned warm. Mason sat beside Vara, his arm wrapped with thick leaves and salve. The Beastwoman had accepted him now. Some still watched him carefully, but others nodded with respect. He had passed their trial. He had earned his place, but peace was short. One of the young scouts ran into the camp, breathing hard. "Ships," she said. "Human dropships, many." Mason stood quickly. "They found us." Vara rose beside him. "They bring full war now." He looked around. "How many can fight?" 10, maybe more. "But not enough," said the lead warrior. Mason thought fast. "Then we don't fight. Their way. We don't wait here to be crushed." The tribe gathered around him. Even now, they listened. A human with a beard, standing in a circle of aliens, planning defense. Something no one back on Earth would ever believe. He pointed at the mountain's narrow path. "We use the cliffs, set traps. Cut them off one by one." Vara nodded. "I lead the front. You guide the ambush." Mason touched her arm. "We do it together." That night, they prepared the ground. Ropes, traps, falling rocks, hidden spears under snow. The tribe worked in silence. They trusted him now. And Mason didn't feel alone anymore. By sunrise, the human ships arrived. Heavy boots hit the snow. Soldiers marched forward with scanners and rifles. Drones buzzed ahead. The leader, a man in black armor, stepped forward. "Mason Carter," he shouted through a speaker. "By order of command, surrender immediately. You are charged with desertion, treason, and illegal bonding with enemy species." Mason stepped out into view. "I'm not the traitor, you are. You burned their homes. You called them beasts. But they have more honor than you'll ever understand." The commander raised his rifle. "You're brainwashed. You'll be brought back and wiped clean." Vara leapt from the cliff above. The battle began. The traps worked. Snow slid down, knocking out drones. Spears flew from the trees. The tribe moved fast, striking and vanishing. Mason led from the center, pulling wounded back, shouting commands, holding the line. He saw the commander again. This time, face to face. The man growled, "You could have been a hero." "I am one," Mason said, then punched him hard. The commander fell. The rest of the soldiers scattered. Within minutes, it was over. Mason stood in the snow, bruised and breathing hard. Beside him, Vara's fur was wet with blood, not hers. She touched his shoulder. "It is done," he nodded slowly. "They'll send more someday. Then we fight again." "No," Mason said. "We build something better. A place they can't touch." The tribe circled around them. Warriors, hunters, young ones. For the first time, they saw a future that wasn't only war. Later that night, the tribe gathered under the stars. They sang an old song, one of new beginnings. Vara sat close to Mason, her tail around his waist. He leaned back, finally at peace. She touched his beard again and smiled. "Still sacred," she whispered. He chuckled. "I guess I'll never shave again." "No," she said, "never." He looked into her glowing blue eyes. "I came here alone, lost, just trying to survive." She pressed her forehead to his. "Now you live." In the cold mountain air, surrounded by aliens who had once called him enemy, Mason had found something he never expected: a home, a mate, and a meaning hidden in the strangest of places. His beard